Well, hello and welcome to Bloomberg Quint. Nikki and I here to wrap the markets up for you. Well, on the whole, we have seen only about 0.6% gains as far as the weekly gains on the benchmark indices are concerned. And, very typical of what's been happening over the past 4 to 5 sessions. We really haven't seen too much of movement when it comes to the benchmark indices. So, Nikki, take us through what's really happened as far as the graph of the intraday graph of the Nifty goes today.
So yeah, it has been a pretty much a day of consolidation for Nifty that we've seen. Just a 15 points higher that we see for the index. Overall, we did see a dip coming in somewhere after the opening of the European markets, but then again, it's bounced back and closed around its previous closing levels with a little gain of 15 points that I'd say. And yet again for the day, the Nifty has closed below 8,800 level. So that's that in terms of Nifty index that we see. And also if you see in terms, so it's been pretty much the day of consolidation that I would say, Agam.
Right. So, when it comes to the futures and options space as well, we haven't seen too much increase or decrease when it comes to the futures, naturally because we've just seen a 15-point rise on the index. However, we have seen further consolidation in the maximum open interest, which continues to remain between the 8,500 and the 9,000 level. That also determines a broad range as to where the Nifty might hang out between over the course of the next 5 days. This is of course based on maximum open interest, and we have seen a lot more writing in the 8,800 and 8,700 calls and puts. That said, on the whole, Nikki, what are the big movers in today's day of trade? But before I go to the movers, tell me how's SPI, that I suspect has met street expectations.
It's been pretty much in line with estimates. The net profit has, it's been the first profit growth after the 4 quarters that India's largest public sector lender has seen.
Right.
So it's been 134% jump in net profit, which currently stands at 2610 crore for this quarter as compared to 1115 crores seen in the previous quarter. Well, the asset quality has pretty much remained stable for that matter. It was at 7.23 for the December quarter as compared to 7.14 in the September quarter that we've seen. So that's that in terms of SBI. And moving over to the broader gains, for the weekly gains of Nifty that I forgot mentioning a little before was, it's the 4th week of gains that we've seen for Nifty.
Right.
And Nifty has gained for 4 out of 5 trading sessions. This being a this session being the one of consolidation. Overall, the market for the week has gained for around more than 0.5%, and this is the 4th consecutive week that the market has seen gains.
Right.
In terms,
well, hang on, Nikki. Before you go on to the gainers and losers, I do want to address the another very important Nifty stock, that is M&M. So we've had numbers from there, and we've actually seen a 33% growth in its net profitability for M&M. But that is essentially on the back of one-time gains of 364 crores because it had, excuse me, gone ahead and sold one of its units. That said, with respect to its growth, where we've just seen about 1.5% increase when it comes to its revenue, and of course we knew about the volumes also growing as much as 2%. So that is not very surprising. It was a profit number which had beaten street expectations. We also had numbers from Bosch. That's where we have seen a little bit of disappointment. We've seen profit drop by as much as 20%, and well, investors and traders once again are not too happy with it. And with that, Nikki, now I'm going to come to you to take us through all the big movers, that is the gainers and the losers when it comes to the Nifty.
Okay, so Grasim Industry, TCS and Tech Mahindra. Grasim Industry is obviously on inclusion on the MSCI Emerging Market Index. That's particularly letting the gains for the stock. It has ended with gains of around 3.74% for the day. Then also the gains have been pretty much led by the IT pack. So TCS, Tech Mahindra, Infosys have all gained around in 2 to 3% on range. On the flip side, on the worst performing side, we see pharmaceutical stocks such as Aurobindo Pharma, Lupin, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories have all, they're the worst performers for the day that we have seen. Now, in specific to Aurobindo Pharma, the stock has actually reported not in line with estimates numbers after the market close in the previous session. So that's probably led to this sharp decline of Aurobindo Pharma stocks. But overall, that you would say that pharma stocks as a whole have declined after Trump have given conflicting signals in the past week on whether he would let the government intervene directly in the drug prices to reduce healthcare costs. So that's probably not boding well for the pharma stocks, which have actually led the fall for the markets, or maybe are the worst performers for the market for the day. Yeah.
So, well, with respect to broader markets too, when it comes to the advance decline ratio, we nearly have one gainer for one loser. It's of course changed in the last hour of trade, but let's take a look at some of the gainers today. So we have Aegis Logistics, which has moved up by as much as 9.7%. That's followed by Apar Industries, also gaining 6.4%, and Eros International up 6.3%. We have gains in Chennai Petro, Ramkrishna Forging, as well as First Source Solutions, gaining anywhere between 4.5 to 5%. With respect to losers, Swan Energy now once again moving downwards, losing 11%. SAIL, of course, also we had the earnings there, down 6%. Mayur Unicotors down 5%, and of course Jayaprakash Associates, JB Chemicals, and BF Utilities losing anywhere between 4.5 to 5%. So on the whole, well, it's been fairly evenly spread when it comes to losers or gainers when it comes to the broader markets. But that is all that we have for today. However, we will be watching out for Idea Cellular and Coal India's earnings tomorrow. And that potentially will also move the indices to a certain extent, considering their weightages on the Nifty. But once again, stay tuned into Bloomberg Quint, and we'll see you next week.